Hello and welcome. On today's video, I want to share a very important insight regarding working with the mind in a different order to get results. And part of the reason that I want to share this is because after last week's podcast episode, I had some people messaging in about questions about working with the mind. And basically part of the insight last week was this. It was that we need to make sure not to lean into the negative emotions, because if we lean into the negative emotions, it can actually increase the negative emotion. And if an emotion is affecting our health, then it can increase the pain. And by the way, I have seen people do exactly that, where they increase the negative emotions that they're feeling, even in their subconscious mind, and it increases the physical problems. And one simple way to illustrate that is to think about somebody who is having a panic attack. Of course, if panic attack goes up, and their panic feeling goes up, then of course it can increase the physical symptoms that they're experiencing. Or even on a simple note, if somebody is blushing, feeling embarrassed, if they're feeling more and more and more embarrassed, it could make the blushing even worse, right? So we can see, obviously, just in simple ways, the mind-body connection. Now, the thing that I really want to zero in even more on is the order. The order. And, some people may think, with working with the mind, the order is not that important. But it is key. If you think about it, everything in life has an order to it, pretty much. If you're putting on your pants, and I use this analogy all the time, but if you're putting on your pants and you put your shoes on first, it's going to feel very hard to put your pants on. For obvious reasons, right? It's going to be hard to get your pants on. Or even if you go to get in your car and drive somewhere, and the first thing you do is want to get in your car, get in your car and drive somewhere, then start the car, that won't work because obvious reasons. And so every single thing, even when we type, every word that we speak, there's an order to it. When we eat, there's literally an order to everything we do, from getting dressed to driving a car to typing to speaking, everything. There's an order. And so when it comes to working with the mind, a lot of times people are just, any random order. And of course they're struggling. Or what a lot of times people do is they've learned to go to the childhood patterns first or look at the negative first. Now, the easy way to think about it, so this is the insight where I really want to go today, because in the past episodes we've talked about that we need to have a different order. But the clarity, today's episode is really all about getting a deeper level of clarity on this. And a simple way to think about it is like this. Imagine for a moment somebody has a very messy house. And if a person has a very messy house and somebody comes up and cleans the messy house for them, how long does it stay clean? Well, the answer is likely not very long, right? Because this person, if they've had a messy house, has a patterned way of being and thinking and doing patterned behaviors that make the house messy again. So for healing, if we're just releasing old trauma, likely it's not going to work, because ultimately what we need to do to heal is to change patterned ways of thinking and feeling. So, for example, self-criticism might be a patterned way of thinking and feeling, or feeling in a fear state, or feeling unloved, or feeling abandoned. And so there's patterned ways of thinking and feeling that need to be transformed in order to heal and get lasting results. And so if you think about exactly that, you picture somebody who gets their house suddenly cleaned up. They haven't changed their patterned way of thinking and feeling. So the house isn't going to stay clean, right? So that's one thing. The other insight is this, is that imagine now if the house is messy and this person who has patterned ways of being messy and whatnot, patterned behavior, is supposed to be the one who is cleaning the house. What are the chances that they clean the house correctly? Well, likely, if they have patterned ways of being and thinking, they're not going to. Or as they're trying to clean it, they're likely also making messes and whatnot. Likely they're not really going to clean it at the level and the organization that's needed to be able to stay in that way with their current patterns. And so for that reason, it is important to change the current self first, the current patterned way of thinking and feeling first. Then when you change that current self, the current patterned way of thinking and feeling and behaving first, then what you do is then as you clean up the house, then as you release the past, so to speak, then what happens is you create a real shift and you can keep your house clean, so to speak, which is ultimately what is needed to be able to heal. And so when I tell people, don't go lean into the negative emotion, don't go into the negative, because first we need to decide how it is that we do want to feel, and we need to establish new patterned ways of thinking and feeling first, and then clean up the old. So that's why I call my process reverse emotional processing, because so often people do two things. They either say, okay, well, let me address the negative. Let me find the negative and let me address it right away. So they go right into the negative, which they're not equipped to do because they're not changing that current patterned way of thinking, feeling, perceiving in the now. Or they go back to childhood patterns right away, and that doesn't help either because they haven't changed the current self. And so that's ultimately what we want to do, is change the current self and then create those changes at a deeper level. All right. So that's today's insight, is exactly that. And so I want to invite you to think about changing your future, changing your current self. And that's a lot of times what I have people do, by the way, is you hear me all the time say, okay, moving forward, what is the vision moving forward? How do you want things to be moving forward? It's because then you establish new patterned ways of thinking and feeling to be able then to align with what it is that you do want. So you start heading in that direction. And then as you're doing that and you're creating that change, then you start releasing the negative also. So it's creating that real change at a deeper level that is key. All right. So that said, it has been such a pleasure connecting with you. And I want to ask you, as always, please do take a quick moment to hit the share button on this episode. Share it with somebody you love, somebody you care about, or somebody you don't even know, because the more that every single person in our world is happy and healthy and loving and loved and truly feeling empowered, the better this world is for all of us. And so please do make a point to hit the share button, and please do make a point to have a most wonderful, fantastic, loving rest of your day. And I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. We'll see you there. Thank you for listening to Heal Yourself, Change Your Life. All of the time, people reach out and say how much these episodes have given them hope or touched their heart or helped them stay positive in hard times or even woken them up to a completely new level of awareness of how amazing we all really are. If today's episode touched your heart or expanded your mind in any way, please do me a favor and be sure to share it with those you care about or those you know who really need it. As more and more people become empowered, it really will change our world for the better. That is the point and the power of these demonstrations, is to create a radical shift in our world consciousness by showing everyone what we are all capable of. And of course, each volunteer will really need to follow through to reinforce their programming to maintain their results. But the point is for you to see that you really can create rapid results in your health and your life if you really understand how to use your mind. You're incredible. And I do want to be clear, though, that most people will not get results this fast on their own. I make it look very easy because of the discoveries that I made. You'll want to remember that there's so much more going on in our minds at a deeper level than people realize. That said, if you want to send me any questions or comments, come visit me on my website at BrandyGillmore.com/podcast. And if you're currently experiencing physical pain and would like to be a volunteer on the show, you can sign up there as well. Lastly, please remember, if you do have any health issues, you won't want to avoid your doctors. Instead, you'll want to continue seeing them and make it your goal to blow their minds with what you're capable of with your mind. Thank you.